Last week, Chinese authorities told banks to not expect interest payments due this week on their loans to Evergrande. With Evergrande being the second largest property developer in China, the question is whether a default could lead to contagion. I addressed this very point last week and highlighted the potential hit to the metals complex. I want to revisit this once again in some depth. So let's get started. First, let me state what has not happened. There has been no worldwide contagion due to the Evergrande crisis. Equities in the US, for example, high yield corporate debt stable. Chinese equities and assets have also been quite steady. The yuan has not really gone anywhere. But could the Evergrande unraveling hit the Chinese property and real estate space? Well, it certainly could. Here are some numbers. Real estate, broadly defined here and including home furnishings, etc., is about 30% of GDP in China. Real estate is 27% of the total local currency loans given out in yuan, local loans in China. Land sales are around 40% of revenues of local Chinese government authorities. So it's pretty big. Now, to put the company's size in context, Evergrande's size in context, well, it's big and complex. Assets of the company are about 2% of China's GDP. They got loans outstanding of $300 billion, 200 offshore and 2,000 onshore subsidiaries. And of course, sales of the company make up for about 4% of China's total property market. It also employs 1.2 lakh people and some 38 lakh contractors. Mind you, the Chinese property market has already slowed down. These are the various indicators, some of the various indicators which you can look to assess that. As you can see, August has seen another month of weak housing activity. For example, developer bond issuance, both onshore and offshore, are down 70 and 34% respectively after a 22 and 71% drop in July. Surveys like the 300-city residential land sales volume and 14-city secondary market transaction volume are down 37 and 34% respectively after fairly sharp falls the previous month. No doubt that part of this slowdown has been due to the Evergrande situation, which is kind of like a slow burn crisis. I mean, it's developing, it's not reached the end game. By the way, it's starting to show up in equities as well. Three of the metals complex subsectors listed on the A shares market in China, namely non-ferrous, coal and steel, they had a huge run-up, 60%, 51% from July 1st to September 13. They are down 10%, 8% and 8% last week. Iron ore prices, mind you, are also down 30% in the last 2 weeks. So the metals market is taking note. So how will this play out? If the slowdown in Chinese construction and property markets is sustained, it will most definitely hit demand for metals. But it's a big if at this stage. There are three things to note. One, can there be a government bailout in China? Two, can the Chinese government ring-fence Evergrande in a way that it prevents spillover and communicate that message clearly to the market? And lastly, a lot of slowdown in China real estate has been due to the unrelenting regulatory tightening from the three red lines, property loan caps, land auction reforms, local home purchase restrictions. Can the government step back a little bit, give some breathing room for the situation to stabilize? As I said, it's a lot of ifs at this stage, but we'll watch this space for more.